Good morning, Donut Friendly Nation. You think I would have learned. Once you do something, you step in a pothole or you burn your hand on a stove, you don't go back and do it again and say, did I really experience it that way? Unless it's love from the same woman who constantly breaks your heart. But that's a whole nother conversation. But when it comes to the Maui fires, I tried to show a video that talked about my personal experiences. Of course, I was called a leftist, that I hated conspiracy theorists. I was a paid shill by the media to spread their story. Folks, if you believe that space lasers lit Maui on fire, that there is a George Soros, Oprah Winfrey, Jeff Bezos conspiracy to install an AI government from the World Economic Forum and George Soros and Schwab, and they burned down and destroyed people's lives and trapped them and caused mass genocide and murder to do this, then this show's definitely for you. If you believe all that and want to continue to believe that, then maybe you should turn the show off. I'm not going to tolerate anymore these crazy things that people say and then go, oh, of course, it's a conspiracy is what people say. Listen, I dabbled in the world of military intelligence. I understand what a conspiracy theory is. I understand what planning stories are. I understand what overthrowing governments are and coup d'etats. I understand what misinformation and disinformation is all about. I understand counterintelligence. All of it I get. But not everything needs to be a government plot to destroy the citizenry of this country, okay? We don't always have to believe it. And why? Well, because it's not true. That's why. Pull the fabric, ask the why. Let's do that right now. I'm not going to waste any more time. This video that I did in regards to Maui was put out because I saw some things 8 hours after the fires were declared, and my alarm bells went off. I put out some, like I said, anecdotal evidence based upon my experience in a forest fire. My experience in Hurricane Harvey was absolutely tragic, and the things that I've experienced in my life and the things that I've done in the military, they gave me some basis to say this isn't true. Well, guess what? I didn't bring all the receipts. I should have, because I was called the shill and the leftist and the rhino. So let's do this together. This first video you're going to see, a lot of you have seen this because I am linked to this all the time. Matt, watch this video, this firsthand account of this lady who doesn't shed a tear, the lady who has mascara on and somehow brought it with her, this lady who has no smoke remnants on her clothes and a perfect white hoodie. This person who has been trapped in Hawaii, in Lahaina, from the fires and is still there with an internet signal that is absolutely fantastic, with editing software that cuts the video, with lighting systems which cast shadow on the left side of her face. All of these signs that are warnings to me as a videographer and a content creator, just immediately a red flag. But when you hear her talk, that is the true indicator that what she's saying is absolutely ridiculous. Listen to this and we can walk through it together.
I have been trapped in Lahaina for the last 4 days.
The first thing I want you to watch is her bouncing, and then I want you to watch the opposite, what her tells are. These are pantomimes. Women have a lot more complex pantomimes than men because they have a more emotions usually, and are a little bit more advanced mentally than men. Men have about 18, women have 21 or 22, something to that effect. But when she talks, you'll see her reinforce the opposite of what she's saying with head bounces of yes or shaking her head no. And these tells will not reinforce what she's saying, but actually contradict what she is saying.
And I experienced firsthand what was going on there. What I went through is not important.
Actually, yes, it is. What you went through is absolutely important so we can establish your credibility, but she's already doing this. This is about her. This is about clicks. This is about how many people interact with her video, and this is the whole story that people want. These people make a lot of money every time you click and watch an ad. I know because I make money when you watch an ad. I get it. I know what they're trying to do, and that's why clickbait happens. And that's why these stories are so addicting, because you think it's a firsthand account, but there is no credibility in the statement.
I need to get this message out. This was not a natural disaster. This was a direct energy attack on the people and the place of Maui.
So immediately she sets what she's going to talk about. Emphatically, up and down, like Bill Clinton. This was not this, this was that.
If you know what lives there, what descendants live there, you know why. And you know why it happened on 8/8.
So why it happened on 8/8. So you have to do a little research on this. And what this comes down to is satanic rituals and the sacrifice of people. I don't even want to get into the absolute batshit crazy part of this lady's rant. But essentially what she's saying is that this was all planned because of a date of being 8/8. And she has correlated that, this satanic sacrificial ritual that takes place every year. And it's obscure and it makes you say, wait a second, she has information. But what it really does is it tells you she is tying threads together to try to make it all make sense, create intrigue and allure. That's what she's doing, because the next sentence also supports that. Here it is.
And if this is not something that you believe, it's time to stop being a sheep.
Okay, so you're a sheep if you don't believe what she says. If you don't agree with everything she says, you're a sheep. Now she set the rules of the universe. She's told you exactly what it means if you don't believe. She's told you something obscure that you're going to hear, so it gives you the bait to hold on. And now she's going to tell you why it happened.
They came in and they took control.
Who?
There were trees standing and the buildings gone. This system.
I will show you a picture right here. There are multiple of trees standing after a flash fire or even a stagnant fire are around. Trees have an extra layer of skin, an epidermis, if you will, very, very thick and very, very tough. Some fires only touch the top of trees and you will see needles. I'll show you pictures of that. The Hayman fire I talked about, we had thousands of trees that stood and remained and hundreds of thousands that were gone and burned. This isn't new. If you look it up, you will find out that it's very common for some things to remain completely unscathed. I said this before, trees are dense, they are hard, they are very pulpy, they're very liquidy in the center, and it takes a lot to release the sap from underneath the skin of the tree. But once that sap is exposed, that's when the tree ignites and catches on fire. Otherwise, if you haven't experimented with this, is why a hot dog, if you continually send fire all the way around it, will cook a hot dog. And if you sit it there, it'll burn a spot. But the whole thing doesn't ignite in flames and spiral out of control unless there is consistent heat applied to it for an extended period of time. And when you have a fire that's moving extremely fast, some were saying a mile a minute in the fire department was saying a mile a minute, you're not going to have sustained heat in order to catch some trees on fire. Some did, a lot didn't.
This weather system came in from the mountains, from the east. That does not happen.
I'm not even going to get a map. I'm not even going to get a topographical map, and I'm not even going to research weather patterns. It's just some statement that is lumped in there to try to make you think that this storm had a mind of its own, and it was what? Seeded by the government? That it was controlled by the government? Please stop.
They were not telling people anything. They were not letting people in to help. And they were letting people go in to get burned alive. There were people burning alive in the streets.
I thought she said that they weren't letting people in, but then they were letting them go in to burn alive, but they weren't telling you anything. Who are we talking about? Folks, just be honest with me. You might say, okay, Matt, she's not saying everything perfect. She's saying nothing perfect. Everything that you're hearing right now is absolute bunk because there's no fact. There's no proof. You have a camera. Why were you taking video? Why didn't you talk about this to the news media? Why are you launching this on your TikTok channel?
There were people dead in the water. There were hundreds, if not thousands.
So she was all the way in the city on the streets, and then now she sees people dead in the water. How is this an eyewitness testimony? Or is she simply restating things that she's heard on the internet?
Of people that died. What they're telling you in the news is not true, and I lived it firsthand. I sat with the people. This is not to bring fear, this is to educate, because there is darkness that's being hidden. And soon people are going to see. I know now why Gaia sent me there. And I am going to use this platform. There was no warning. There was no nothing. Please boost this post.
There it is. There it is. Please boost this post. I always ask the same thing, but not when I'm literally crying and talking about burning and dead bodies. Folks, I know a little thing or two about trauma, and reaction to trauma is different for everybody, but that's not it. Let me go ahead and make a TikTok video and ask for likes and shares. This is Eric Hecker. This is on the Sean Ryan show. Sean Ryan is a CIA contractor, SEAL team member. I do not know him. I've never met him, but I have spent some time with people who've been on his show. I have nothing but respect for him. And he brought on Eric Hecker. Eric Hecker is supposedly worked in the South Pole. He's worked on bases in Antarctica. He knows all about direct energy weapons. He has the keys to every facility. This came out a few weeks ago. But this, you know, as far as hitting the internet and going global and going viral, but this has been out for a while. And things like this happen all the time. But I want you just to listen to a few seconds of this, because this is where people are getting their information. There's absolutely no evidence. There's no credibility except for a jacket with a pass on it. We don't know anything about this guy, but he's a whistleblower, and he's going to tell you all about with a whole bunch of goobly-gook and words that don't necessarily make sense, but put them all together and wow you with scientific pontification of epic proportions. Here it is.
That we are currently in a state of war that people aren't realizing.
What is that?
These weapons are being wielded around us, against us. There are power players that are above nation states. Geographical boundaries and political parties mean very little to the wealthy elite on this planet. We're pawns, we're chattel. I am a person for the people, we the people of this planet.
Okay, so immediately this guy's the Noah's Ark in your political fray of discontent. He is telling you, I'm the truth. I'm the person. Listen, everyone knows that the elite is corrupt. Everyone knows the government's corrupt. Everyone knows that they're not in it for the little person. I'm not saying that. Everyone knows that direct energy weapons aren't fake, that they are real. Well, at least most people who look into this type of stuff. Nobody's saying that. Cloud seeding, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. There is a very big difference between having direct energy weapons that are actually transfixed and located on terra firma and ones that require the 300 kilowatts to be done from a moving vehicle like a satellite or a plane. The power consumption alone is beyond comprehension at this point, how you think a sustained laser can be powered from certain types of vehicles. But very difficult to do that unless it is fixed to a indefinite power source. Also, we can look at infrareds. We're going to look at the lasers together in just a little bit. But by the way, these are infrared. They are not lasers that you see at Pink Floyd. They are completely different. High energy weapons at a 300 kilowatt max laser, you're not going to be able to see, whether it's nighttime or daytime. So these videos that you see immediately are bunk because these things are not visible by the human eye. Now, you can use FLIR, you can use infrared technology. That's fine. But none of these videos show that, and that would be the first tell. But let's listen to the rest of this, and we'll break that down in a second.
Deserve a better future than the one we are being presented. We've all, through our blood, sweat, and tears, we've invested here in the United States. We've invested our taxpayer dollars for these people to create weapon systems that they're using against us.
Okay, so immediately you're like, okay, great. I'm with you. I agree. Taxes are wasted. The military-industrial complex, fine. And you're pulling at my heartstrings just a little bit. And then you come back and you say they're being used against us. How? When? Where? Those are also encroached upon later in the video. There's a 35-minute video of this. You should go watch it. This is just a 5-minute clip. And I just care about this portion because it's relevant to the story. Listen to the rest.
It's a sin. It's illegal. It's a sin. It's immoral, and we have to do better for the future generations of this planet.
Okay, are you worried for your safety?
Who disagrees with that? Nobody. Great.
Safety?
No.
Why not?
I'm just simply beyond that. I don't really care what happens to me. I care about doing the right thing.
Do you think you're in danger?
I guess theoretically people don't like me doing what I'm doing.
Okay. If you're blowing the whistle on the government assassinating its citizens, trust me, you're in danger. If you think you're not, then you're a couple cans short of a six-pack. People have challenged me to get this guy on my show. You know what? This guy could probably talk circles around me. He's not an idiot. He's a smart guy. He knows some things. I'm not saying he doesn't, but there is no proof in what he's saying, and that's the problem.
Physically held a key that opened every single door in the facility.
No, you didn't. Okay. 1995 all the way till 2002. I worked in some of the most secure compartmentalized areas that the United States offers when it comes to intelligence, and we didn't have keys. That's not, it's ridiculous. Everything had a code punch key, which was actually looks like the new doors that you see in corporate offices that were 6 digits. Some had badge access. Nobody has keys. What is this, the Matrix?
I had complete access to every compartment they manufactured.
No, you didn't, because compartmentalized is compartmentalized for a reason, and nobody has complete access unless you're at such a high level that you wouldn't be doing this video.
You blowing the whistle on?
That there are technologies at the South Pole Station that people can't even consider that exist on this planet. Directed energy weapon systems is something that people need to get into their vocabulary fast. The ice cube neutrino detector is not
Sorry.
simply a passive listening
I have an ice cube neutrino detector. I open up my freezer and there they are. I'm sorry.
device as presented for the science that they're claiming it to do.
Now, don't sit here and get all mad at me and be like, dude, you have no idea what the ice cube neutrino detector is. Stop it. Just stop it.
It also has the capacity to transmit. There are embedded in the ice what are called digital optical modules, DUMs. They're about the size of a basketball. The array embedded in the ice is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. It is the world's largest telescope. And now, because we have proven that it can transmit, it's the world's largest directed energy weapons system. It is responsible for the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand.
Can you explain quantum entanglement communications?
Yeah, we're not going to have this guy explain quantum entanglement. Sean Ryan is a real smart guy. He does what I could not do, which is listen to this without challenging it. Sean Ryan's not a conspiracy theorist. He is a smart man. He challenges people. He asks questions that expose people. I'm not going to tell you what he's thinking because I don't know. He may love this guy and think he's the smartest person since sliced bread and that I am a complete knucklehead. But what I will tell you is that based upon the questions he asks in the interview, he is letting this guy just say everything he wants, but not necessarily probing to uncover more because it doesn't go anywhere. It's simply just somebody up there saying aliens are real. They've abducted me. Anal probes took place. And you're like, great, now explain what your evidence is. Oh, I can't give you any. And that's why conspiracy theories live on. That's why they continue to thrive, is because you can't explain it, but also because of things like this photograph. This is around. Everyone knows it who's been hearing about the direct energy weapons and the lasers coming from space or from some sort of, aircraft. This video or this picture right here has been circulating. There's 2 photos. And if you take a look, you'll see what appears to be an explosion, something out of Independence Day, but with a red beam versus a green, and then a beam of light coming up and down from that area. Now, I want you to understand this is not Maui, even though people have said it's Maui. This is actually Marathon Petroleum Refinery in Ohio. And this was the winter of 2018. It's a petrochemical plant that caught fire and exploded. Now, when it did, 2 things happened. The person who's actually shooting that, who's recording that, is using a standard phone camera. We know this because it's not in 16:9 or 4:3. It's actually in a 9:16 portrait mode. More than likely a camera. It could have been cropped, but let's just go ahead and assume it's a camera. At this point, when you look at 2018, you can look at aperture rating. You can look at how high and how wide, whether a camera opens up at full length or actually narrows it down based upon the amount of light coming into the lens. At a nighttime shot like this with very little ambient light, looks like the brake lights of a vehicle, and then whatever the residual light is in the surrounding area from light pollution from the city, it's going to be fairly dark. So therefore, your lens is going to be open wide. The problem with that is that if any bright light comes in, anybody who's used optics understands this, you're going to get refraction. You're going to have amount of light coming into the lens, and you're going to see that light represented on the focal capturing device inside the camera, whether it's a video or a picture. When that happens, you'll get refraction, which is false light, or you will get beams of light. Anybody who's watched a movie from J.J. Abrams, especially Star Trek, will see all the halogen lights literally have lens flare all over it. That's all that's happening here. There is no laser. This was an explosion. But of course, people are using this and saying that it's a space laser from space. There's proof one. How about another one? How about this one? This is the one that's around everywhere. It is absolutely viral, and it's convincing. I'm not going to lie to you. I had to look at it a couple times and said, wow, that is pretty amazing. It's a straight, almost vertical up and down laser. It's a huge beam. It's just what I would imagine, even though that's not anything of what it would look like. But let's assume that this is true. There's something that tipped it off for me, though. When I look at this and I click into the picture, I want to show you this. If you go into the bottom portion here, you're going to see that the waves are blurry for some reason, but the land isn't. And the clouds have some blur to it. And this area has blur and remnants of something that was there before, like a cloud base. So I used to do imagery analysis for satellites in the military, something I would do, and most intel guys have done that. And I could tell something was wrong with this picture. Now, why would there be some sort of fuzziness in regards to the waves? Because waves don't look like that at all. Anyone who's surfed knows this. Well, obviously, it's either photo manipulation or time lapse. And those two things I know because I've done some photography in my life. You may have been able to tell that or not. So when I go to this picture and I look at this, I say, wait a second. What happened here? The waves are breaking. And they're up and down like they should, with a very healthy breeze taking place on the lower peninsula, but not necessarily on the upper, because if we go back to the image, the cloud base that's behind here isn't moving very fast because it wasn't very blurry in that first picture. If we go back to it, just a little bit of softness to the clouds. That means the clouds aren't moving as fast, and when it comes up to the upper atmosphere, the winds aren't as high, which is optimal for launching a rocket if anyone doesn't know. Here we are, and we see a SpaceX rocket. This was in 2018 in May, and the photo was altered. I'll get you a little bit of a bigger picture here so you, if I can. No, I can't. It doesn't matter. It looks fantastic. I'll put it up on the website. There you go. This picture's fake. And this isn't the only thing. There are many things in this story that are not true. This video, this is evidence. People are saying, hey, Matt, look at this video. It's absolutely condemning. It's 100% Maui. And this is what, first of all, Maui doesn't have mountains like that and doesn't have snow-topped mountains, okay? First of all, it has a lot of hills, and it does have some volcanic mountainous ranges, but it doesn't look like that. But let's assume that this is Maui, which it's not. Let's listen to what this actually is. And then I'm going to tell you why the original video was a lie, too. Here it is.
Hey y'all, Myra here. So take a look at this crazy video. This just happened today, May 26th in Chile.
May 26, 2018.
So quick backstory. A man was in his apartment and he heard 5 explosions and then his electricity went.
First of all, why are all these videos look like it's taken from a high-8 camera? Well, because stabilization is obviously an issue. When people see a tornado or they hear an explosion, we saw this a lot with any handheld that was done in Iraq or any handheld that's been done in 9/11 or in any of the explosions in the Boston Marathon, is that when people hear that, they run or they turn, or their natural reaction is to take cover. So this is why it looks all shaky, but it also makes it optimum to give flashes of what they're trying to focus on. You'll notice all UFO videos or Bigfoot sightings also do the same thing.
Went out. He ran to his balcony to see what was going on or to see if he could see.
So there's the video. So now we know this was absolutely not Maui, which it doesn't matter. People are like, well, who cares? That's no big deal. Fine. So this wasn't Maui. It's one video, Matt. Well, stop. This is the information that you're saying is legit. But what if I told you that this video completely is fake? What if I told you that this video specifically, this one about Brazil, is also fake? Remember I talked to you about refraction? Notice how the brightest spot of that light isn't causing refraction. It's actually silhouetting this laser beam that's coming here, and you're seeing it here. But this isn't the nighttime. This actually means that the aperture of the lens is probably closed a little bit, but you are seeing some refraction when it comes to this laser beam. But more importantly, it's not going to look like that. It would actually come down here usually and stay on the same path. But you're seeing a narrow beam and then a wide beam. So it's not replicating what it's seeing. It's creating something that isn't there. That's alarm number one. Alarm number two to me is this, and this one is the one that takes the cake. This camera shoots at 60 to 30 frames a second, whatever they're using. This isn't a slow-mo camera. It's not shooting at an incredible amount of frames per minute. It's not going to capture a laser light dissipating. And that's what you see here. If you can tell, this light is dissipating, and you watch it happen in the video, it's instantaneous. Why doesn't it happen when you slow the video down? Well, that's because it's an overlay. It's a graphic. The explosion itself is somewhat real, although there are particles added to it. When I imported it into video, I could see that there was another overlay over the top of it, making the explosion brighter and bigger. But this was an explosion that happened in an apartment and a gas line. But what didn't happen was the actual laser. If we watch the video again, you'll see it turn off instantaneously, which is a clear indicator that it's a laser. But when you slow it down, you can see it's not. Here's the GIF where I actually slowed it down. Watch. Do you see it just all of a sudden turn off in there, and there's remnants of it, and the refraction turns off before the actual laser stops? That wouldn't happen. Folks, these type of things are really simple if you just dive into it and look. Now, a lot of people are giving firsthand testimony that they've seen these lasers in Maui, and they're bright blue lights, and they'll see these illuminations in the sky of blue and white, and then see sparks and fire. Folks, that's down power lines. And if you don't believe me, I've got a video to show you. And I also saw this in the Hayman fire that we went through. Here it is. Almost sounds like a laser. And yes, you might be saying, well, there's a storm going on. Well, there was a storm there. It was 80-mile-an-hour winds, and down power lines absolutely will take place in 80-mile-an-hour winds. This is what they've also said probably started the fire. They don't have an official announcement, and you're not going to hear that, but the energy company has said that there were down power lines, which hurt communication, down cell phones, which explains why maybe people didn't get the notifications that they were looking for, why communications dropped out a couple of hours before, because they were experiencing ultra-high winds. You couple that with dry conditions. We know this. It's been hotter than frickin' the ninth ring of hell all over the United States, and you're going to get huge, incredibly dangerous fire conditions, which they were warned about 48 hours before with weather conditions ultra high, and for people to be aware that fire conditions were indeed high. Nobody could expect this. Nobody anticipated this. This is a tragic event, and I completely understand. But saying that these things are all related is ridiculous. This video, and I apologize for the size. There's not much I can do about it because it's so extremely small and I could not find it. But you will see that there's these green lasers. It's probably easier if I zoom in on this. Green lasers going across the sky systematically. And when they enhance the contrast of it, you're going to see them come across in sporadic waves a line of lasers. Folks, these are QS-1 satellites. They are Chinese-made satellites. The United States has the same thing. They're used for topographical mapping. They're used for checking atmospheric conditions. These happen all over the country, all over the world, and they are absolutely no threat once again, and about as dangerous as a Pink Floyd light show. It needs to stop. Here's what is real. The experiences of what people are actually going through. And there are testimonies all over. By making this video, I'm not saying that things are not difficult. I'm not saying food's not getting in. I'm not saying they're not allowing reporters in there. I'm not saying that the government needs to be held accountable for Joe Biden's reaction. I'm not saying they don't need to investigate their early warning system. I'm not saying they don't need to make sure that they pass a law right now, every single legislature, to protect those people who had property, to have a choice to rebuild in that community and to not sell that property out from underneath them with eminent domain. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is this is the story that should be spread. These are the things that should be talked about, not a stupid conspiracy theory about lasers and the New World Order. Take a listen to this. I'll show some pictures over the top of it, and then you can understand the absolute damage and horrible situation that happened here, and why nobody should be making up stories unless you are actually there and have proof. Here it is.
Now I'm going to hit you guys with the reality. So I'm getting a lot of messages. A lot of people are telling me, like, you're doing so much, you're doing so much. You see, everything that I'm doing, it is not enough. We need to open the fucking roads. And if anybody is going into Lahaina, if anyone can get through Lahaina, bring your fucking car full of supplies. Everything you could possibly bring. Don't go to Lahaina if you're empty-handed. There's so many people out here that need help. We came with 5 trucks, loaded, decked out, and that is not enough. That's like enough for one neighborhood. There are thousands of people out here. We need medicine. We need pillows, blankets, food, drinks, as much water as we can. There's so many people out here that need help.
That's Bryce Barra. You can find his account on TikTok. And folks, that's the person we should be listening to. Those are tears. There are hundreds of videos like this that aren't being shared. Instead, we're sharing videos of regurgitated nonsense that happened in 2018. People are being subjugated to ridicule and being shunned, and we're not going to the sources that are truly trying to tell the truth. I haven't been to Lahaina, excuse me. I've been to Hawaii. I served in JICPAC. I've been to Honolulu, Pearl Harbor. I have the utmost compassion for the people who are there. What I don't like are stories that detract from the true cause, which is to get these people help and get them the money that they need. You can donate to Team Rubicon. I know the guys over there. I've worked with them. They are an amazing 501c3 philanthropic organization that helped us in Hurricane Harvey, and I've worked with from companies like Flags of Valor and also Valor Home. I have a lot of respect for them, and you can know that the money you give to Team Rubicon will go to the people in Maui and not the pockets of the people who are at the top. These are just a few things. And I'm asking you this. If you believe in everything that's being said and you think I'm just completely full of crap, was there one piece that you had believed that I disproved? And if I did, then you owe it to yourself to find out what else you've been deceived on. And if you don't, that's up to you. I've made the videos. That's the last I'll talk about it. We'll move on to something else. Thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. I appreciate it. You can stop by the DUM Show. And yeah, you can buy a t-shirt. Yep. I have no problem doing that. You can also go ahead and follow, like, share, and subscribe, but I'm not going to cry and lie to you in order for you to do it. You can just do that because you want to continue to stay updated and get the most honest take that I can possibly give you. That's what I do. I will not sell out, and I don't take sponsorships, and I don't make a dime from anybody other than the ad revenue and the shirts that I sell. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Matthew Spear. I have been your host. We will see you tonight at 8 o'clock. Olivia, myself, and I. Whatever. All 3 of us will be on, and we can't wait to talk to you. Thanks for watching, folks. I will see you tonight at 8 o'clock.
With the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important. You are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call